This is Fred Beck from Fred Beck Fighting, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Boxing Social's Rob Tebbutt. So, Rob, we last spoke in March. How have you been, mate? It's been a while.
Yeah, not too bad. Well, we've spoken a couple of times via WhatsApp and what have you. I've been keeping up to date with Fred Talks Fighting. You're doing very well, young man. Keep it up. But yeah, no, I'm okay. I had a little collapsed lung since the last time we spoke on the phone. But yeah, no, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. I'm surviving, as they say. How are you, Fred?
Yeah, been all right. Been doing a few interviews recently, and I was surprised you haven't managed to take the time out of your day to watch the YouTube. And how have you been? Because collapsed lung sounds quite nasty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much kind of back to full fitness now. I'm just waiting on some clearances from my doctor. But yeah, no, doing well. Kind of back in the saddle, not doing as many events and traveling as much as I was. I say before it happened, but certainly before the pandemic. Luckily, I have a great team who are able to kind of go out there in the field and get what they need. But I've pretty much been Andy Purrowell's personal assistant for the last 18 months, booking his flights, booking his hotels, making sure he's got some food and some water. So yeah, no, it's been a strange couple of months. But I have been yeah, I've been enjoying kind of back in the swing of things. Big fights have come back. Obviously, we've seen in the last couple of months Joshua Usyk, Wilder Fury 3 or Fury Wilder 3. So yeah, it seems like the scene is starting to blossom again, which is good.
Yeah, it certainly has got a good end to 2021. So before we talk about any more boxing, I want to touch on your time at Boxing Social. You've been there since 2018. How would you kind of describe your time at Boxing Social then?
Yeah, obviously, it was a slightly different proposition back then than it is now. But yeah, no, I kind of you caught me on the hop a little bit there, Fred. I I I saw Boxing Social as an opportunity for me to kind of put my own stamp on something. I'd worked in other fields. I'd worked for other companies in boxing, and I'd done some paid work, some unpaid work, some kind of, I guess you could call it earning your stripes. And I found Boxing Social as a real opportunity where they had a good audience, but they didn't necessarily have the content to support that audience or to stimulate that audience. So yeah, I went in there in May of 2018. At the time, I was working with a guy called Patrick Kuitanen, who left not long after I joined. Hopefully not because of me, but he's a good guy. And then it was just myself for a few months. Then we brought in Andy Purrowell. Shout out Andy Purrowell, living the dream. And then things kind of, yeah, went from there, I guess. It's difficult. It kind of feels like yesterday, but also feels like a lot longer than 3-4 years ago. But yeah, no, I think myself and Boxing Social have both been good for each other. I think I've been good for the company and the company's been good for me. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it sounds like you had quite a good time. But what I'd really like to know, right, is you've been Boxing Social began for about just over 4 years. Obviously, you didn't join right at the start. But when you kind of joined, they're on what, 3,000, 4,000 subscribers. Now I checked today, you're on 134,000 subscribers. So when I look at other boxing YouTube channels, they're only on like 30,000 subscribers, maybe 40,000 subscribers in 4 years. How come you got up there so fast?
I don't know really. I think I had a good reputation, I suppose, when I came into Boxing Social. I wasn't as I wasn't as well known as I am now, but my work was still known through the work that I'd done elsewhere. And I don't know, I feel like going to Boxing Social, I had quite a clear vision of what I wanted Boxing Social to be. I remember being your age, maybe slightly older than you because I forget how young you are sometimes, and watching Coogan and James Helder, of course, from IFL TV. And I remember, like, always tell this to Coogan, always like remember listening or watching their interviews while I was doing the dishes, like in my kitchen with nothing else going on.
Now I listen to your interviews when I'm doing the dishes now.
See, there we go. It's a perfect cycle. But yeah, I felt like a lot of people when I was kind of making my start, I guess, in boxing media, if you want to call it as such, were kind of looking at what IFL were doing and having enormous success with it, and kind of just trying to replicate that and copy that. And I felt like there was an opening, or there was certainly a niche, if you want to call it that, for some slightly different type of reporting. I guess you could call us a little bit more straight than some stuff that IFL do. Coogan for me is the best content guy going in boxing with regards to kind of getting that raw, behind the scenes, no filter style content, which is fantastic. But I feel like we offered something slightly different to that, which allowed us to, I don't know, stand out, but allowed us to kind of do our own thing and attract a different type of audience, or albeit the same audience, obviously boxing fans. And I feel like that was a big help. I think we kind of established ourselves as I don't want to say a more professional outfit, because that's probably not the right word, but something slightly different, maybe catered a little bit more towards hardcore boxing fans. And that kind of allowed us to get a bit of traction very quickly. Obviously, we've kind of, I think we had 3,500 or something when I joined, but we were able to get good guests quite quickly, because obviously the people who I'd known and the relationships that I'd grown through working in the industry before then. So I mean, I don't know. I think it'd be probably a little bit too arrogant to say it's all because of me. We have a great team, and everybody has had to work really, really, really hard in that period of time to get us to where we are now.
Yeah, certainly. And how important do you think it is that, because there's so many, it seems like everyone has a boxing interview channel now. How important do you think it is to kind of find your niche in that?
It's, for me, it's the most important thing. And this is something that we've spoken about and I've spoken to you about in the past. You know, you're never going to do what IFL do better than IFL. You know, you're already way behind the eight ball. So, I mean, there's no point copying what they try and do. In the same way, there's no copying us, Seconds Out, or any of the other channels. I feel like you have to establish a niche. You have to be doing it for the right reasons. I think like one of the most important things to me is you have to love boxing, because you really have to kind of watch everything. You have to watch the Friday night shows, the Saturday late shows, and you have to try and keep as up to date as you possibly can, and also give you like a well-rounded kind of view of what's going on the scene. But with regards to carving out a niche, I think it's very important, because otherwise you just get lost. Fighters, you know, they have to do 15 interviews in a day sometimes at press conferences. If it's just one after the other, I mean, inevitably you're going to ask the same questions. I ask 90% of the same questions as Coogan or somebody else will ask, but it's how you do it, and kind of, yeah, the kind of approach, I guess, is important to keep the fighter interested. So I feel like carving out a niche and doing something that's you know, different to what everybody else is doing, I think that's important. Yeah.
I guess you could kind of just yourself and it'll be different. Like I look back at some of the interviews over a year ago and I kind of look quite robotic. Now I kind of talk to you as I talk to one of my mates. I'm kind of the same person. But when it comes down to you, I know you kind of have a team at Boston Social. Obviously, Andy's been doing a lot of interviews recently. Do you spend most of your time kind of sending DMs, chasing people up, sending emails, working on the website? Like, what else do you do apart from all the interviews? So I can imagine it's quite a lot.
With regards to getting the interviews, or just the day-to-day nature of my job?
The day-to-day nature of your job.
Well, obviously my role's kind of changed a little bit now. There was a period of time where I was the only person working at Boxing Social, so I was doing all of the interviews, all of the posting, all the social media stuff, the editorial stuff. Like, thankfully, I don't have to do that now, because I have people who are much better than me at that, doing stuff like that now, which is great. So yeah, I mean, recently, obviously on the back of my illness, I've not been covering as many shows. So I've been doing more podcasts. There are still people who I have to chase, and kind of shoot DMs to and emails and speak to PRs and stuff. And you'll know yourself that, you know, that can be quite a laborious task and can take quite a lot of time. But thankfully, because of the network we've built up, you know, often we'll have a podcast the next day and we still won't have a guest. But thankfully we've kind of worked our network to a point where we can kind of get a good guest on short notice, or we can just get Barry Jones because he doesn't have a job. Hello, Barry. So yeah, I mean, nowadays I am in more of a kind of, I guess you would call it a management position. I am the managing director of the company. So I have 5 other full-time staff in various different departments, doing their own thing really. And it all kind of feeds back to me in some way, shape or form. So I'm doing less of the hands-on stuff now, but I'm kind of busier than ever because I'm kind of overseeing the other facets of what we're doing. We obviously have an editorial, YouTube, social media. We've got some other bits and pieces coming up, which I'm not going to tell you just yet. But a little hint would be this lovely.
I was going to ask about that at the end.
The Boxing Social merch. Don't worry, I'll let everybody know where you can get a Boxing Social t-shirt or mug or hat or whatever we decide to go for. So yeah, we've got a lot of things going on at the minute. We've just renewed our sponsorship, our partnership with Betfreds, who are of course a long-term sponsor of Boxing Social. So that took quite a little bit of time. Post collapsed lung, you know, coming out, I was kind of focused on that. So yeah, I mean, my role is a lot more different nowadays. It's a lot less fun. It's a lot, the fun times were kind of a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, when I was just going everywhere and here, there, and everywhere. And now it's it's probably in more of a
Office job.
managerial capacity. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of turned more of an office job for you now. And I know I
Yeah.
asked this question a couple of questions ago, so LinkedIn, but when I went to the cameras and the gi weigh-ins and then also the fight, everyone always does the interviews. You got the camera here and you got the microphone there. And everyone does it that way, apart from I think Michelle Joy Phelps and then Rachel Raheem do it in front of the camera. But why is it everyone does it behind the camera? Is that because it's just easier to set up? And obviously the boxer.
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to it's just a lot easier to set up when you, particularly myself. I mean, usually, or even if I'm working with Andy or somebody in the field, there's only one of you at a time. To set it up by yourself and like have nobody there to film it, I just think is too fiddly. If somebody moves out of the way of the shot, you never know where the shot is. If you manual focus, which I think everybody should, but people do autofocus, if somebody moves, all of a sudden you're out of focus. So, or if a card fills up or a battery goes or something like that. So, and also I think, like, for me at least, like, unless there's really a reason for you to be in front of the camera, I don't think it's necessary. People do it, people have great success in doing it. I'm certainly not telling people how to kind of do their job, sort of thing, but I think the ease of just pitching up camera, you can see everything that's going on yourself, is probably, well, it's not probably, it is much easier to do that way. So yeah, and plus nobody wants to see me on camera, like like we obviously do the podcast, so I kind of have to be on camera for that. I guess I could just sit there in a silhouette, like all blacked out or something like that, but I don't. But yeah, I think it's probably just much easier to do that way. But it's horses for courses. Like Coogan will sometimes use a mic, sometimes use a shotgun. I will pretty much always use a microphone behind the camera. But yeah, I guess it's down to personal preference.
I guess you also do get a lot better thumbnail because they just have your face, don't they, as well?
Yeah, and also unless you're like super recognizable, people aren't really going to be clicking on a thumb to see your face. So you can get a nice, as you say, a nice clear thumbnail. Well done, Fred, you're learning. But yeah, you get a nice, beautiful shot of maybe not Eddie Hearn, but somebody else, and yeah, it entices people to click.
And for the regarding the thumbnails, I always see, I think IFL do a lot. So most of the boss channels do it, where they kind of get a more kind of not clickbaity thumbnail when they're kind of like that, or not looking like the best position. I normally do the ones when they're just smiling. Is it a bit disrespectful to do ones where they're not looking their best, or is it all right? They don't care.
No, I don't know. It depends. Depends on what reason you do it for. I wouldn't ever say to kind of, okay, do it all smiling, or do it all where they're looking stupid, or do it like, I always feel like the thumb. So I'm giving you the gold here, Fred. So I always feel like the thumbnail should match the title. If the title is "I want to fucking knock somebody out," they shouldn't be smiling. Yeah,
there's the title. There's the title for the interview.
But if you've got John Fury, for example, you want one of these out of John Fury where he's staring into the camera.
And there's our thumbnail as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there we go. Please don't use that one. But anyway, yeah. So I think, like, I mean, Callow's difficult to get a thumbnail where he's not looking absolutely mental. I've already told him in the past. Adam Smith, somebody else who cops a lot of stick sometimes for his thumbnails. But I mean, generally speaking, the thumbnail is to really match up with the title. So yeah, you want it to be interesting. Do you want to kind of purposely make somebody look stupid? No, or at least you shouldn't. But yeah, I feel like the title should match the thumb.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. You do want the clicks. That's how you keep the business going at the end of the day. And obviously for the business aspect of it, so Seconds Out, IFL, and you guys do it all kind of full time. But to be able to do boxing interviews full time, because sometimes on boxing social views, sometimes they aren't getting like 2,000 views, sometimes they aren't getting 10,000 views. It's kind of the same for all the channels. How do you kind of make a living on that? Because you can't really rely on the Google AdSense. Do you have to have a sponsor?
It depends on what you want to do. Some people will be able to survive from kind of YouTube rev from their AdSense account, depending on, you know, a multitude of things. We have a great sponsor. We obviously have our own revenue streams in YouTube and Facebook, in the new Boxing Social Shopify, which I'm sure is going to make everybody filthy rich at Boxing Social. But yeah, no, I think it's obviously important to have a sponsor. You know, if you can get a sponsor who has the same sort of, you know, who's aligned with your goals, so to speak. Like Betfred, made a good move into boxing recently. They sponsor Matchroom. They're partners of DAZN. So, you know, having an independent outlet under their web, I guess you could call it, or their umbrella, works well for them. And obviously for us, we want to be as big and as good as we possibly can. So having a sponsor who has also got those ambitions in the sport is obviously really good. But for us, yeah, we have to, and we do, and I'm sure others do as well. You have to work on your own revenue streams and try and make some money yourself, because, you know, sponsors are great, but they don't last forever. You can have a sponsorship with somebody, and then for whatever reason it runs its course, and if you're too heavily reliant on sponsorship money and they decide to take their ball and go home, then you're in trouble. So yeah, you have to work on your own revenue streams, but having a sponsor is obviously important.
Yeah, I can see your point there. And everyone always uploads for the boxing channels. I normally upload daily, but most boxing channels upload kind of free. Like Eddie Setback, he uploads 20 times a day, but you guys kind of upload what, 3 times a day, 4 times a day. How, you know, it's best to kind of upload a video kind of 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock UK time. That's Vegas time. What's 10 o'clock Vegas time? When you're uploading 3 videos a day, does it matter if you're uploading one at lunchtime, one mid-afternoon, one evening?
You answer the question yourself. You tailor it towards whatever audience you're looking to hit. If you've got a piece of American content, or you know, we do a lot of work with 3-0 fighters in America who don't obviously have a massive audience in the UK. That's something you'd probably let go slightly later, 8, 9, 10 o'clock UK time, to try and pick up some sort of US traffic. But of course, you have to have the US audience. Our audience is predominantly UK. So those guys aren't really going to rate that high, regardless of what time you put it out, because we can put it out later to cater for an American audience, but we don't have a massive American audience. We have a good size growing American audience, particularly in for the last 18 months. We've covered a lot of shows out there. But yeah, I mean, it all depends really on who it is, who you're looking to hit. We'll generally speak and do afternoon and evening stuff. If you have a piece of gold that is a world exclusive, or, you know, something that you know is going to do really, really well, then it doesn't really matter all that much when it goes out. Like a good example of that is, you know, when Andy's away in America, he'll do an interview. Let's say he interviews Tyson Fury. That Tyson Fury interview is going to do really well if you put it out at 11 o'clock at night, 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, whenever you put it. And of course, it's a time sensitive business. So if you hang on to your interviews for too long, there's always the chance that somebody else is going to get the interview and beat you to the punch. So you always have to strike that balance really between, okay, this needs to go now because it's great, it can go now, and okay, well, actually, it might be better off going at this time for this audience. So it all really depends, and it comes through trial and error. But yeah, certainly knowing your audience, when these are all available to everybody on YouTube Studio. So please dive in there and take a look. When are your users online? What countries are online at what times? And then you can tailor it to fit certain audiences.
I bet you love looking at those analytics though, Rob, don't you?
I'm a proper analytics monkey. All I do is sit around all day and go through the analytics on Facebook and YouTube. And the way that our kind of company has developed over the years, we have to look at certain territories and how we're performing in the UK compared to how we're performing. And I really enjoy it. Like, it's not for everybody, but I really enjoy that side of things. And, you know, it's something that you kind of, again, grow into and you kind of learn as you go. But I mean, I speak to people all the time who don't really do that. And I feel like just doing a little bit of kind of due diligence and knowing what your audience likes and what they don't like, and kind of where you're performing well and where maybe you're not performing so well, I think is very important. So yeah, I do, Fred. I do. I love it. Boring as it is, I do really enjoy it.
But when it's your thing, it's kind of fun to look at. Like, I went on YouTube Studio the other day and I went on the analytics, viewership, and then countries, and I found I have 3% of viewers from Uzbekistan. So shout out the 3% from Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan area. Yeah, 3% Uzbekistan, 3% Kazakhstan, and then you got the obviously like 50% UK, US kind of audience. But I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're a busy man. What are your kind of upcoming plans for Boxing Social? What do you got on the menu for the next few months?
So we got Shopify again. So
merchandise. What's going on the merchandise? I know you guys are all kind of flexing it on the podcast.
Yeah, so the merchandise, it's actually it's taken a little bit longer than is ideal, and again, that was partly because I had to have a few weeks off when I was unwell. We've been launching it every week for the last 6-7 weeks, but naturally things kind of get pushed back, and we prioritize other things ahead of it, but it's almost ready to go. Like we've got t-shirts, we've got mugs, I think we'll have hats, and we've got posters. So all of the Boxing Social magazines that we've done will be available in poster form. So there was St. Patrick's Day, the Cinco de Mayo, we had the lightweights when we had like the Call of Duty poster, we had the heavyweight 8 as well, the Hurtful 8. So they'll all be available. That's coming up. We've got some really, really good content ideas. Now we've we've done our new deal with Betfred, and we're pushing on with certain ideas that we've got with them. Not going to be able to go into too much detail. You have to stay tuned, but we've got some food content coming out soon with Fabio Wardley and food influencer called What Will He Cooks. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to be really fun. What other things have we got? Just general stuff, really. Like, we like shoot days and we like projects to work towards. We don't want to just stick to the day-to-day interviewing stuff or sitting on Zoom and what have you. So there'll be a lot more shoot dates coming up, whereby we go and do something with certain people in weird situations, I guess you could call non-boxing related situations. And yeah, I don't know, just I say more of the same, but obviously adding on top. But yeah, I think the last 18 months hasn't been ideal for anybody. So now we're in a position where we can kind of push on and do other things. I think it'll be enjoyable getting out there and doing a few things and trying to create some content, because I mean, I know that you've been primarily doing Zooms for the last 18 months and so, but I saw you get yourself to a press conference the other week and interview Eddie Hearn, which is great, fantastic. And I'm sure you can appreciate being there is quite a lot different than doing it on Zoom. And there's certainly one that I prefer doing. Not that I'm not enjoying this, of course, Fred, but yeah, being there in real life and kind of getting out with, a videographer and having like a whole day that you plan for the week and it comes off, those are the things that kind of really still excite me with regards to making content. I'm probably getting out to a few more shows. I think we'll be able to hit up a few more shows. And at the minute, there's still this log jam where you're getting 2-3 UK shows on a weekend, American shows, and there's plenty for everybody out there. So yeah, there's lots ahead. And stay tuned for the Boxing Social merch. I'll get you a nice Boxing Social shorts t-shirt.
Yeah, thank you very much then, Rob.
And you can wear that for all.
I went on the website. I went on the Boxing Social website, and there's no merchandise there. So it's Shopify where they can buy it.
It will be Shopify. Yeah, it'll be attached to the website. We're going to be making some changes to the website, and kind of our editorial side of things, which will be kind of revealed in due course. But yeah, no, it'll be a Shopify account. It's already set up, but it's just missing a few of the smaller details. I think we might look for some other designs to be made as well for the t-shirts. And like, you have to do all sorts of stuff. You have to you get various different t-shirts with various different fabrics, and it's not something that I ever really expected to do. Enjoying it, and obviously an awful lot, but yeah, selling clothes not really my thing. So it's taking a little bit of time.
It is a good idea though, because I've always wondered why IFL, they got 700,000 subscribers, why they don't do merchandise, or Seconds Out, why they don't do merch. I know that Ade does merchandise, he does hoodies, and Ellie Setback does it, but it's a good idea doing merchandise, really. But how many different designs of t-shirts have you got?
So we've got this one, which we've also got in white. I think we've got that out there actually. Yeah, I'm not going to run and get it, but got this one. We've also got it in white. We've got standard Boxing Social, which you've seen me wearing on the podcast, which is the Boxing Social. We've got another one, which is kind of like the evolutionary. I think I might have that there.
You go get them. You get them.
I'm going to try and get one for you. Good opportunity for me to promote this now, Fred, because you're doing so well. They'll get so many views.
Yeah, use that thumbnail and that title, then I'll get a lot of views. Well, hopefully a few. I won't cut this out.
So here we go. So this is one of them. So this is like our evolutionary t-shirt. This looks really bad of me just using it as an opportunity to sell my stuff, but it's fine. So we have man evolving into a boxer. There we go. So that's one of them. This is another one. Then there's a Boxing Social one. We've also got a like a Boxing Social team t-shirt, which is actually still in development, which I think when that gets made, I'll probably end up living in that because it's very me. It's just plain black with a Boxing Social B. So I'll make sure that you get all of your Boxing Social merch, Fred.
Perfect. Well, that sounds all good then. What about doing a special personalized Andy Perillo t-shirt?
We could do, I guess. I think he'd probably like that.
Because it's
Yeah,
those
no,
types of things. There's always those types of things that sell out.
yeah, I think like with catchphrases and slogans and stuff like that, I'm not very much of a catchphrase guy. Although I did have somebody come up to me the other day randomly and say, "Oh, Rob, you're Rob Tebbutt from Boxing Social," and I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Delighted to meet you," and then just walked off. And I was like, "Okay, great,
Well,
cheers,
do you
mate."
get recognized? You should have a delighted t-shirt, but do you get recognized a lot?
No, no, not a lot. More often than not, I get like sometimes I'll get recognized as like an afterthought when I'm taking a photo of Coogan. Like over the years, I must have taken 100 fucking photos of that guy, just like walking around an event in America or even in the UK, and somebody will go, "Lyndon Arthur did it once," and I've told Lyndon Arthur about this since, where I was stood with Coogan and Lyndon went, "Oh, do you mind taking this photo of me and Coogan, please?" And I was like, "Yeah, cheers." And then so sometimes people will go, "Aren't you that guy from Boxing Social," or something like, and then yeah, so that's occasionally, very occasionally, people will recognize me. I had somebody do it once at a show, and he come up to me and he said, "You're Rob Tebbutt, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I don't know what Eddie's talking about. You're not as fat as he says you are." And I was like, "Oh, cheers, mate." So, love the fans. Cheers, guys.
Yeah,
But you'll be getting recognized soon, Fred.
no one's recognized me yet. But the thing is, Bella, most people do on the Zoom is only I have it switching back and forth the camera. Most people just have it on the guest.
Yeah.
I like doing it that way. It's more.
Why'd you do that?
Well, I guess the fact you're 17, it probably helps a bit on the when they leave less mean comments. So if I get a mean comment, I'll just pin it and reply, "Thanks, mate. Have a really good day," or something like that. And then have a go at them, which I always find quite funny. But yeah, no, not yet though, Rob. Maybe one day.
Well, hopefully soon. We start getting to events, mate. I'm sure you will. You're getting some really good interviews. You're doing a really good job. When I was your age, I wasn't really doing much. So yeah, no, keep going, and I'm sure people will be recognizing you and demanding the Fred Talks fighting merchandise soon.
Yeah, one day, that'd be something. Before I let you go, where can people find you on Instagram, Twitter, all that sort of thing?
Instagram is private, so please don't follow me on there because I won't accept you if I don't know you. So no, don't worry about that. Rob Tebbutt at Rob Tebbutt on Twitter. I'm sure you've all seen me on there causing chaos. And that's about it. Follow Boxing Social, follow Rob Tebbutt, follow Fred Talks Fighting, Fred Beck, the man himself, doing great things. So yeah, no, that's pretty much it, mate. That's pretty much it. I'm just a one-man band on Twitter. I don't have Instagram, really, not a public Instagram. But yeah, Ellie Seckback always does that, doesn't he? He always says to people like, "So before you go, let them know where to follow you on Instagram."
Any setbacks?
Yeah.
Not a big fan of Tyson Fury at all, is he?
No, so they had an issue a few
He kicks
years
him out
ago.
of the gym. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Ellie had sent some tweets a few years ago that Tyson remembered, and then before the first Wilder fight, Tyson kicked him out of a huddle, and I think it's kind of gone back and forth from then. I really like Seckback. I get on really well with him. He's always really good with not only myself but other people when we go over to America, because obviously we're kind of visitors when we go over there. And Ellie is somebody who's just past 1 billion views with a B. So that's like pretty amazing. And he always makes time for people, which is really, really good. I've had some cool like moments with him late in the media room. And he's a fucking beast, man. Like you were talking about like Ellie doing like 20 videos a day. I always tell this story when people ask me about Seckback. Like Wilder Fury 2, we did 79 videos that week, which is good. In 6 days, 79 videos is a
But are
lot of
you
fun.
posting quality and he's posting quantity though?
I don't know, because some of the stuff that he posts is great. That's just a different way of doing it, isn't it? Like I don't know how much Ellie pays attention to his YouTube analytics. Maybe his audience don't watch longer than a minute and a half or 2 minutes. If you've got an audience who only engage with a piece of content for 90 seconds and you putting up a 20-minute interview is fucking useless. So he'll probably, whether he has done that or if it's just the way he does things, I don't really know. But anyway, we did 79 videos in a week and Ellie did 105 or something stupid in the first day.
Well, does he just go upload it on his iPhone then? Because normally
he has this kind of like contraption, right, where he has like a phone here, a camera here, another camera there, and it's all like stuck together, and he walks and he's like filming like 3 different cameras at once. It's unbelievable. It's like sort of like one of those things that like your dad would kind of hammer together to keep all the remotes together, like years ago when there was like 3 different remotes for the TV. It's unbelievable to see, but he works like non-stop. And I know not everybody who's going to be watching this or in general is like a massive fan of Ellie's work, but he's a grafter, mate. And like to be able to do it for as long as he has I mean, I'm assuming he's made quite a lot of money out of doing what he's doing. And to still have the hunger to do like 100 videos a day in a fight week is mental. Absolutely mental.
Anyway, I'll let you go. So you've been going for about half hour here. I'll put your Twitter in the description because your tweets are quite funny sometimes. I think there's one where you were talking about you don't worry about burning any bridges on Twitter, do you?
I only burn bridges I'm happy to burn. But no, I don't know. I think first and foremost, the most important thing that I always tell people is that Twitter is not real. Twitter is just an app with in a whole kind of thing where just messages, like it's not real life. But yeah, I think with regards to kind of Twitter and stuff, I don't take it too seriously, and I don't think anybody else should really take it too seriously. I have my opinion. I don't feel like I overstep the mark when it comes to disrespecting fighters. And I'm sure if I did, the fighters themselves wouldn't be shy of letting me know, and then I would probably change my ways quite quickly. But yeah, I don't know about not minding burning bridges. You know, in an ideal world, everybody would love me, and I would love them. But yeah, it's not an ideal world, and yeah, don't take it too seriously. I think you know, Twitter's a laugh, isn't it? It's just it's the audience of the insane. Even in boxing, like it's an interesting place.
Yeah, sure, it certainly is. It's good to keep up to date. I'll phrase it like that. It's good to keep up to date. It's very useful to keep up to date on all the boxing stuff. But then nowadays everyone takes stuff too seriously. I just use it to promote interviews. Really, I don't really say much in there. Because you say one thing and you couldn't say it in like the wrong phrase, it wrong, and then everyone starts saying go you, and then you burn a few bridges and lose a few contacts. You know,
yeah. I used to kind of have that more of that mentality, I guess, and I'm certainly not advocating anybody to be as I wouldn't necessarily.
And now you've made it big, Rob. You can say what you like then.
I wouldn't say that. I think like you get to a point where I don't know. Like I used to have that kind of mentality, and then I got to a point where I realized that nobody actually really cares, like really what you say, because I'm not that important. So like somebody like Eddie Hearn, for example, is not going to really care about what I'm tweeting unless I'm being like way over the top or something like that. You know, he has a multi-million-pound business to run, or these fighters. I mean, again, I certainly try not to kind of overstep the mark when it comes to fighters in particular, but are they really caring about what you're saying? No. So I think like I'm not one for deleting tweets. So as long as you can stand by it, whether people like it or not, then I think you can kind of be your own judge. But again, Twitter's not real. So like forget about Twitter, even though I'm on it all day, and just kind of get on with your life, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, Rob, I've taken a lot of your time, but we'll catch up soon then, Rob. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Keep up the good work, Fred. I'll speak to you soon. All right.